Well, today I'm working on the front bumper cover. I have the piece here, and my first project really is to work on this crack. It's right here. And the challenge I've been having is it may be due to some, I thought perhaps it was from age, and it had been sit for a long time. I don't know what the reason is, but this side of the crack is higher than this side of the crack. There's a significant bump there. And I've been working this morning actually with a C-clamp, with a number of things, trying to get that together. I even sliced a little bit in there to get some daylight. You know, my goal being to try to get these two edges to match. And so far they're not, and that's a little bit of a concern to me. But what I have is some, the book recommends a 3M structural adhesive, and it's a two-part urethane that you mix up, and they want me to reinforce it up, sand it on the back side and reinforce it with a layer of fiberglass cloth, and then come back here on the front, and then I need to prepare that area, which actually goes around the corner here into the black section in front of the headlights. And anyway, that's the first level of project. When I get done, of course, the goal will be to paint. But I need to make this repair. I need to clean the entire part. I need to get the stripes off and do all the preparation for painting. I've already taken a heat gun and removed the remains of the little plastic brackets that were here for the headlight covers when they had the smoked headlight covers, which I never saw. I think the brackets deteriorated and those parts disappeared. But in any case, I'm getting started. I'm going to start working on this part first, and I'll show you what I got going here as I get moving. So the first thing I need to do is get to the back side of this. Got some towels down here, so eventually I want to paint the whole thing, but I don't want to scratch it, so make it harder on me. But this is the back side of the crack. You know, when it got hit, it got whatever caused it left a pretty good bump. It's pretty flat in here, but there's still a mismatch in there where it must have stretched it a little bit somehow. Well, in any case, the mission is to sand this so that I can apply the repair material. And I'm going to hit it with, I'm going to take a piece of, it's 40 grit, and it's pretty coarse, but to try to give it something to adhere to. I cleaned it with a solvent. Got that. And then I'm just going to rough up this face surface here a little bit. Ultimately, I'm going to sand this all down. But before I do, I'm going to try to get the adhesive in the crack first from the back, get it reinforced, and then I'll start working on the front. Well, I'm going to get my vacuum and vacuum up the dust, and then I'll be back. Okay. Well, I've been working on this, trying to kind of pry on it and get it to line up, and I've gotten it pretty close. It keeps wanting to creep, but hopefully it stays close long enough for me to set the adhesive on the back side. Then roll this upside down, put a light on it. So there's the crack from the back side, and it's been cleaned and wiped down with solvent, and it's sanded with 40 grit. I have a chunk of fiberglass cloth to add to the mix. Then it makes it so I'm just about ready to mix the adhesive and drop some of it on there. The working time on the adhesive is only like 2 or 3 minutes, so once you get it mixed, you got to go at it. Don't know exactly how much I'm going to need, but I'm going to take a shot at it here. Get a respirator on. Okay. Okay. It's a little tricky getting it back in that corner, I'll tell you. So I have one of these spatulas that's cut down. It's kind of narrow, so I can sneak it in places like this. Okay. I wasn't sure how much to mix, so I'm going to have to put in a second batch, and then except you don't want to mix too much or too little, so just clean. Second chunk of plastic here. I'll make another batch here before Should have made a bigger batch first, but when I judged, and try to get it out of here quickly and get the second one in there. The instructions want you to go about 1.5 inches beyond the brake, so that's what I'm trying to do. That was part of being smooth in the corner there. Well, I think that has it covered underneath. Okay, that's it. The instructions recommend 1/8 of an inch or so thickness. I think I have that now. Almost tempted to put a third coat on because it's to the, it's probably close to 1/8 of an inch. Let me see how it performs. If I need to come back, I think I could always add another layer. Didn't penetrate all the way through, but I'm going to come through on the front side here, and I'm going to sand in the end. I have to take off all the paint and lay another layer of that on this side. So. Yeah, I think I've got 1/8 of an inch or more than 1/8 of an inch in the center, and then it tapers out to the edges, which is probably just fine. So, alright, gonna let that cure. Well, that backside repair reinforcement has set up and it's pretty solid. I know that the instructions suggest that it takes 24 hours to get a full cure. But it's probably enough for me to go start work on the other side. It's pretty good and thick down in the corner. It's pretty well reinforced. Let's see how it looks on the top side. All right. Not too bad. This side is still a little higher than this side, but the answer is probably in the middle, that this side's a little low and this side's a little high in the combination. But it's better than it was when I started. And it did start to glue together. My putty knife here. Now, there is material down in the groove, so I'm going to need to come back in here and figure out the size of the area, and then start sanding this out just to get the paint off, and then taper that, feather edge it so that I can fill this side and taper it in. So we'll see how that get myself set up here. Get in there and get a little closer look. So the left hand side is just a little higher than the right hand side, but now that I've got it cemented together, I think it's in a lot better shape. It's much closer to being equal on both sides, and It's as close as it gets, and from here we'll sand and fill and try to get it smoothed out. Okay, well, let's get some, see if I can get a little bit of the paint and so forth off of there. Well, for the most part, it looks like I'm down to the base material now. And I have a smooth transition back into the paint. Man, there's several layers there. I mean, there's the top coat, red. There's black underneath. There's a white underneath. There's a red underneath that. And a gray and a black underneath that. And then you get down to the raw paint. But now what I need to do is get in here and work the edge of the crack. And get this feathered so that I can get it dished so that I can lay some material in there, get it sanded flush, and then I've got some special primer to go back over with that. Kind of would have liked to not have to go quite that big, but that's the recommendation, and I think that's what it's going to take, because I need to kind of dish this out a little bit all the way around. So in there, yeah, got about a 1/16 of an inch. I mean, this material is not that thick. But I think I need to bring it down just a little bit further here to make sure I get past the end of the crack. Alright, I'm going to clean up the dust and see how that looks. Alright, well, I was using an 80 grit. The refinish instructions in the manual suggest 50. I have a hand version of 40, which is pretty close. It's a little rougher than 80, so I'm going to keep cleaning here a little bit and try to get this down. I've also been going in with my little razor knife and just, again, trying to blend the edges a little so that the material has, can get in here a little better. I guess let me taper it this way. And up up here on top, I thought about widening that one out, but it actually is fitting together very well, and it looks like it's been glued. And so I have it's dished so that I'll have a layer over the top, probably 1/8 inch or so, which ought to be enough. I mean, I've never used this structural adhesive before. This is that 3M08101 that's recommended for this kind of work. But I'm going to come across here, and that crack's going to be 1/8 of an inch or better deep, reinforced on the back side. The trickiest part actually is going to be just getting this this front edge back where it belongs. Getting a straight line there. I'm going to vacuum and clean that out and with solvent, and then prepare to mix another batch. Now normally I don't usually mask things when I'm using body filler, but this adhesive is a little different. So I got it masked off to try to keep so that I don't, when I'm running it, that I don't drag any into the painted area that I have to try to clean off. If I leave a little bit of an edge that I have to sand, so be it. This stuff doesn't flow quite the same as normal body filler. I was hoping I could shape it just a little better, but I don't think it's bad, it's just not quite. Alright. Well, let's leave that as it is. I'll let her set. Partially set, so I'm going to see if I can knock a little bit of the high spots off. Let's see how close we get here. That stuff's not cutting very well. I do think I'm pretty close from a contour point of view. It's maybe a little bit low in here, but not much. It's pretty darn close. I've still got a little bit to fill over here, I think. I'm starting to get my edge back here around the corner, which is good. And that's starting to make the curve here. I've got a few low spots to hit. It's a fussy job to get it to blend. Make sure that you got it in the right spot. Okay, starting to get a contour back. Alright, so I've still got some low spots there. Got a few low spots. Not a lot, just a little bit actually. Now I'm going to mix up another small, very small batch. And put one more layer on there. Let it set up, come back and work it. I may end up needing a third coat. Let's see how it, just to touch pinholes and things, but so far so good. For the next stretch here, I let it harden for a while, and this stuff is kind of rubbery, and so it does have to set pretty well. Used a couple of these cheese grater style files to get a contour on it. It's reasonably close. It's actually not too bad. It's still a little bit high, I think. And then I've moved to 220. And the goal would be to get it shaped and smooth and blended with 220. And then finish it with 320. And then I'd probably take the tape off and make sure it's blended all the way. But for right now, I want to protect, I don't want to sand into the paint around the edges. So I'm going to keep using the blue tape to protect my work area here. There's still a few spots that I might need to come back and put a third coat on, but for now I'm going to just keep on trucking away here with the sanding block. I did put a third coat, a skim coat on here to fill some of the pits, and then I've taken the tape off now after I got it roughed in. I know the tape kind of keeps you from blending it. You know, it'll hold you up a little bit thick. And in any case, I'm going to come back, keep working with 220 a little bit, and then I'll probably need to do is switch across to 320, a little smoother, and make sure I blend it across into these areas and make it ready for priming. Because then I'll need to go 320 out here, 320 and or 400, and then prime. And when the primer's done, I'll need to sand the primer and make sure it's smooth, and then I have to come in here, prep this and redo the black. So a lot of work to do yet. Well, I've reached the point where I'm going to put some primer on that repair now. It's all sanded down and blended as best I can. I did mask it off just to take down some of the overspray. It's not the fanciest, it is not the fanciest masking job, but hopefully that'll do the job. So I need to lay a few coats of primer on there. Kind of wish the wind would slack off. I'm planning to do my color coats indoors, but I figured I could do primer outside since I was going to sand it anyway. I'll take a shot at this. I probably need to put three coats on it. Well, we'll let that sit now. Flash off. Well, let's go hit a second coat here. Well, there's the repair spot. Now that it's had, what have I got, about 3 coats of primer on there. I'm going to take some 400 here in a few minutes and just see, smooth it out and see how it looks. It's had a chance to dry overnight, so let's see what we get here. I thought I was getting ready to do final prep on the nose here, and as I was starting to scuff it, I recognized or realized there were some spider cracks in a couple spots, particularly in here. And I started sanding to see if I could get to the bottom of those cracks, hoping that perhaps they were just in the surface coat. But it appears not. It looks like they go all the way to the bottom. I don't know the right way to fix them for certain, but recognizing that the structural adhesive is intended to fix cracks, I think what I need to do is clean those areas out, sand them, and perhaps even find a way to open up the crack just a little bit to grind into the crack, and then go over it with some of that structural adhesive and then prime it and paint it. Little bit of an experiment. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing or not, but I don't know what the alternative is at this stage. Is if it's into the base material, if I don't do anything with it, it will just crack the paint again. They're short. I mean, the cracks are probably only an inch or 2 long at most, and they're not very serious, but something must have bumped it. Well, probably when the other one bumped it, you know. So in any case, I'm going to dig in here and see what I can do on it. Well, as I dug into this, the top one here, even though the paint was cracked, it looks like when I got it all the way down to the surface, it looks like that's intact. This one still looks like it has tiny little hairline cracks in it. So I'm kind of worried what the paint will do, painting over that. So, I don't know, I'm going to dig out, I've got a Dremel tool, and I think I'm going to try to just kind of groove those a little bit. They're very, very hard to see, they're very hairline. But try to get to them just a little and then put a layer of structural adhesive, fill them a little bit, and then prime over it. I don't have a better solution right now. I don't want to put a huge gouge in the part, but as I flex it, you know, I don't see them opening and closing. I mean, maybe I could just put a layer of material over it, but I can pick them up with I can pick up an edge with a fingernail. There's not a lot there, but there's a couple of them. So I'll see what I can do. So these are really hard to see and trace out, but I took a Dremel with a little ball end tip on it and just very carefully followed it and dug it out. I mean, I suppose you could go at it with a big grinder, but it just seemed like not the right tool for the job. So now I'm going to come back in here and hand sand that with some sandpaper and get it probably some 40 grit or something and get that roughed up. And then I'm going to fill that one. And then I can finish prepping the part and come back and prime. I can prime over this one more time, and I can prime these and carry on from there. Getting close to color coat. But generally speaking, if you've got cracks in the paint and cracks in the substrate, all that's going to happen is the new paint's going to crack. That just doesn't seem right. Go through all this work, so we'll take a shot at that. I followed the line with the Dremel with a ball end so that I could follow the crack. It isn't very, I don't know, I think I'm probably under to the bottom of it already. What I'm going to try to do is just go over it and kind of dish it out a little bit. I kind of didn't want to go that far, but okay. That's probably enough. And I'll clean that up and put some adhesive into it. That makes for a more shallow exit or blend. Now let's mix this batch up here. Gotta make sure it's mixed thoroughly. There's two things. One is they want it mixed thoroughly, and the other is they tell you only got 2 minutes, and you can use half of your 2 minutes up mixing it thoroughly, so what are you going to do? And I know this will be a little bit high around the edges because the tape will make it that way, but so be it.